Sorry, not sorry.
Welcome to Quest Unplayed, a podcast. We have another episode with amazing people. Quest Unplayed is where three gamers talk about everything about gaming and have fun together. I am George, the co-host of Quest Unplayed, and this quest is joined by Anthony.
Hi, everyone.
Zach.
Hi.
And we have another guest, Michael.
Hello.
All right. I'm excited for this one, too. Before we begin, this podcast is sponsored by Minimap, your ultimate gaming hub and a gaming companion app. You can sync your game accounts, make your game collection, connect with other gamers in your community, and do anything about gaming. And before we go on, we will be turning on that Minimap advertisement video.
Gotta hit it.
Yep. Any thoughts on the video, the music, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Minimap app's really kind of a cool idea because I just don't. There are a couple of other ones I think out there, but there's just not many that are really focusing on games and actually, connect to game pages and all that. So that's really cool to me. But yeah, that's something that I really actually liked about Minimap when I first found out about it.
Yeah.
Was that it was a lot more focused on just about games.
Yeah, appreciate your compliment. Yes,
100%.
we're all about gaming. So I hope you also, because Michael has been a Minimap member or user for quite a while. So he knows. Yeah, awesome. Okay, and we will be taking another gamer type quiz with Michael the Dev. So are you ready for this, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it is finally the weekend after a long, tiring week. You play to keep video game together, or you need quality time alone?
Probably video game together.
Together, nice. Good choice. The new game that just released isn't my type, but a friend is urging me to play with. You refuse at first, but you still play, or you just go with your friend's suggestion right away?
Probably refuse. It depends. It really was going to depend on the type of game, but yeah, it's probably refuse at first.
Okay, nice. You're thinking about joining a community with strict terms to get game information. It's too much for me, or you still do all the guidelines and rules?
It would have to. That's a tricky one. Probably too much because I can probably find the information elsewhere.
Yeah, that is true.
On Minimap, probably.
Yes, that's true. Sea of internet. Before buying a game, you carefully read over people's reviews, watch trailer, check the price, or if the game looks interesting, you just trust your instinct.
More the latter. I tend to I'll look at streams sometimes, but I'm not one that really go out and do a ton of research. I feel like that takes away from the game at times. I try to just make sure it's not terrible or anything, but I try to go almost media blackout on games I'm really interested in.
I think, for me especially, that goes same for movies too. If I know too much about the information, too much information about the movie, it's kind of losing the fun of it.
And the trailer shows you the whole movie before you watch it.
I hate that.
Yes.
Okay, next question. If someone is watching me playing a game from behind, it's a perfect opportunity to show my amazing gameplay, or I'm too pressured, I miss skill shots.
Oh, I'm going to miss the skill shots anyway, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. All right. You're playing newly released game for the first time. You go over tutorial or you skip tutorial because you know how they are done.
If the option is there, I'll probably try to skip the tutorial.
Okay. I think some games don't even give you an option to skip tutorial.
Most of them don't.
Yeah. You're playing a mystery solving game. Based on my years of experience in mystery solving game, that guy is the culprit. or that person looks suspicious, but you still need to collect evidence first?
If it's a good one, probably the latter, because you have to have red herrings in there.
Yes. In order to equip the rune that increases defense by 0.01%, you have to return to the lobby. You just go because your friends are waiting, or you tell your friends to wait and go back to the lobby to equip the rune.
I just go. I'm probably not even equipping that rune.
Okay. During gameplay, your companion's character has been bitten by a zombie. You might be able to find the cure, so you decide to accompany them, or everyone in the group can get infected, so you choose to kill them even though it is tragic.
I think it determines. I guess the first one might have more XP, so probably that.
Oh, this one? Okay. Even if I don't express it, I feel like I keep losing because of my friend. You lift up your friend's spirit, or you give them a link to tips and tricks and suggest that gameplay.
If there's something I can spot, sure, but generally the spirit thing.
Spirit thing, okay. The character has had bad performance, but the appearance is totally my type. Considering the balance of my party, I cannot put them in my party. I have to put my favorite character in the party no matter the cost.
As long as the game's not too difficult, the latter. I mean, that's half of what playing a game is about, is figuring out what you like, finding the fun.
Yes. Your current desktop is messy or very neat.
Oh, messy.
Okay. Before getting into the game, I searched the internet just in case you end up missing achievements, or you have never played a game for the achievement.
Generally don't play the game for an achievement. I don't have that. Like, I generally play on PlayStation. I don't have that many platinums. Every once in a while, there would be a game I'm like, oh yeah, let's get it. But most of the time, I don't really care.
Last one. You who happen to play lots of games, you play the game you feel like playing at the moment, or you have a gaming schedule?
Oh, whatever game I feel like at the moment.
Nice.
I mean, if I have a gaming schedule, that's like work, man. Come on.
That is very true.
I have enough in my
100%.
schedule.
All right, you're the chatty bard. Let's see some of these things. I wonder how the developer came up with the name That Monster. Curious about a lot of things not related to the game itself. Hey, let's have a competition in who kills the most monsters. You gather friends to open game competitions. You talk way too much during voice chat. You don't care how much the skin or that costume is. You just buy it. You don't always get mad, but when you do, you have gone too far, my friend. While I'm having a blast, every now and then I just stop and think, wait, what am I even doing? I'm very popular amongst people, but I also get hurt. You can have this sword. I don't need it anyways. Do any of these characteristics suit your gaming personality, you think?
I feel like the skin one is the exact opposite. Like, if it's just cosmetic stuff, like there's very little chance that I'm going to care at all. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, especially at the beginning, the first two. I mean, the first ones are kind of, why you end up getting into something like game dev to begin with, is trying to understand it a bit further. So yeah,
yes, that is very, very true. All right, because if you don't have the passion and curiosity, like, you don't usually become like a game dev or start.
Well,
working.
I feel like if you don't have the passion or curiosity, you're not going to have any kind of creative pursuit, whether that be content creation, podcasting, gaming, game dev, any kind of development, really. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, thank you for taking the quiz. I really appreciate it. And to kind of find out a little bit more about Michael, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the game you're developing, or something that you would like to briefly talk about before we start the
Sure.
topic?
Yeah, so I've been gaming since the NES days. I'm currently working on this game here, Radiant Bricks. This is the prototype of that. I recently restarted this game in a different engine for various reasons that maybe we'll get to later, maybe we won't. But it's just something that I have been interested in how game dev works for a long time. So I've been very curious about it, and I finally feel like I have the development skills to actually make something like that happen. But yeah, I'm really I'm a solo dev, so I'm really trying to keep my project scope small and get this first kind of commercial release out there. And as you can see, it's a bit of a twist on a Brick Breaker style game, with the kind of twist being that you can switch the color kind of and hit different colored bricks. So to me, it's a little like Ikaruga when I first thought of this idea. That's what it kind of reminded me of, actually, even though it's a totally different genre game.
Oh, nice. So it's the game is still in development, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Do they have any idea like when you're going to be releasing the game, or?
I am trying to really push the development schedule, so I'm hoping to really have it out like March or April of 2025, because I want to get this one off my plate, because I want to get to the next project. I've been working on the idea for a while, but I've just struggled. It's been in development hell, and I want to get it out of development hell, so I'm going to be really focused on keeping the scope very small. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Awesome. So we do have the companion Waypoint, where we talk more about your personal life, or your game developer life, and all the things about the game. So let's jump to our first Waypoint, the Bulletin Board Waypoint. This is where we talk about the weekly gaming news that happened recently. And I know we have done a recording last Sunday, which means we only had 2 or 3 days. And I think the biggest news to cover today is probably the Game of the Year, right? The nominees. Have you guys looked at the list for this?
I have seen some of it.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you agree with the list? A disagreement, a disappointment, something that you were missing?
I mean, it's not really like, honestly, it's not, nothing on here is a surprise. You know what I mean? All this
None of
is
them are.
just, I think, what is the only one, is there one thing on there that is considered to be an even indie game, is Balatro?
Yeah.
Lacho is the only indie game on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's like, I guess it's cool.
Which
I'd like to see more indie
surprises me
representation on
also.
there. Yeah.
Which, because Balacha came out, it came out February 20th of this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, I think I didn't know Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was going to make it. I mean, like it's a good game, but then I kind of forgot about it, because a lot of games kind of like came out after that, and then they kind of like.
The thing is, most of these games you see that hit Game of the Year are the ones that hit the milestone sale copies, like the most. I think every one of them sold out a lot of copies within that 1 year. I think. Let me see how much Balatro.
I think Balatro. Yeah, I think the Balatro was kind of surprising for me. But other than that, I know Astrobot. A lot of people loved it.
So Balatro sold 1 million copies.
That's a lot of.
In March. After 1 month.
He's
Yeah,
like, that's
I was gonna
just a
say
month.
that sounds very low from what I remember.
So that's 1 million copy in March. So as you can tell, I think every single one of them are all 1 million copies.
I mean,
That's why.
Yeah, Black Myth, I know for sure.
Astrobot easily had 2 million.
Yeah.
Or so. Elden Ring, of course, sold out everything. That had like a couple of million.
Yeah.
So yeah, Game of the Year is based on how many copies you sold. There you go.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, that makes sense, because everything on there I know did good. I agree with George. I didn't even know I forgot all about Final Fantasy. To be honest with you, and I knew about Metaphor. So those I guess those would be 2 surprises to me. Not that they're not good games. I just didn't hear as much about them as I did Wukong, and Elden Ring, of course, and Astrobot. I think Astrobot was just everywhere for like a good month or 2. You know what I mean?
I think it's
Stay with Wukong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was personally a little surprised with the Elden Ring being on there, just because you do have such a strong base game already, and so you're kind of building on top of that. So that surprised me a little bit, but once they said DLCs were allowed, that's when I was kind of like, okay, I guess we're probably getting Elden Ring. But I know there was I didn't get the chance to play it, but I know there was some backlash to the difficulty in the DLC compared to the base game. But yeah, that was a little surprising to me. But
yeah, you're right. There was a difficulty. Nobody could beat the first boss for the first month or so. So they had to patch it to make it less easy.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of controversy behind allowing a DLC to be in the Game of the Year nominee. A lot of people said there should be like a separate category for like DLCs or something. And
there should be. I forgot how much it was when it came out. Was it $50?
Something like that. A lot of money.
So it was still considered as a standalone title kind of way price tag. I mean, you ever hear a DLC that costs $50 or $60 DLC?
You basically have to like buy. You're basically buying two different titles for Elden Ring and Elden Ring Shadow Territory. So
I mean, they even had their own collector's edition, which was like $250.
And did you have it? Do you have it?
No, it was sold out. It was sold out.
Okay.
He didn't get on that pre-order fast enough.
Yeah.
Nope. Just like I said, I couldn't get it on the Astrobot either.
The Astrobot, the controller thing was kind of like cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was all sold out right away, right?
But I think
it depends on where you looked.
But Black Myth is going to sell out more also because they're getting a physical for it.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah. Black Myth is PM Studios is getting that. I know.
It's doing a physical for Black Myth. Woodcon. Yes. They're the only ones. That means it's going to sell out a lot more now.
Yeah. Oof.
I was going to say, are they going to have like a special statue edition or something?
They actually did have that for Asia only, and China only, but they didn't have it nowhere else. That's a problem. But yeah, Game of the Year, I kind of understand. Now, like with the other categories, it kind of makes sense too for all of them.
Yeah.
When I saw the other categories.
So, which game is gonna win it?
Game of the Year?
Yeah. If you have to choose one.
I'm not going to choose one out of what I think is going to win. I'm going to say Balatro as just personal.
I would love to say Balatro will win, but at this rate, who won last year?
Was it Baldur's Gate? Baldur's Gate?
I thought didn't the guy? I thought
it was Baldur's Gate that won that. Was it Baldur's Gate that won last year?
I thought it was Dave the Diver.
No, Dave the Diver was not the Game of the Year. I think it was.
That's why
it was nominated, but
I believe you. But Game of the Year.
It was Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 was the last year's Game of the Year. So
and then do you know what was the one before?
I don't know.
Elden Ring.
Wait, didn't like Vampire Survivor win one of those?
I think Vampire Survivor won like one of the indie category, like best indie game.
Oh, that was.
I think you have an indie section, right?
Yeah, they do have an indie section. Yeah, the independent game. If for the independent game, I know obvious here, Balatro is going to win this one, no doubt. I think.
Oh yeah, of course.
Best independent game, Balatro. That's no doubt.
I should never play UFO 50. I never even know about that one.
I have it downloaded. I have not got to play it.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I didn't play it. Neva, I know, is supposed to be. Really
Neva, I heard. Yes.
But I don't know if it lived up to the expectation. There's like a high hype of Neva, but then it wasn't like Balatro level.
I was about to say, isn't there is there a Razzies when it comes to gaming? A Razzies award? That'd be pretty funny. I've actually not heard of all these independent games.
I mean, I've heard Animal Well, Neva, and Balatro. I think Balatro's going to win all these too.
What's UFO 50?
This game?
Yeah, what's that?
It's a collection of like 50 games.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
this one.
It's like a bunch of it's like a bunch of like old school NES type games, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That does hit the who is it like a retro audience a lot, so that's why it's there.
That is true. I think these two Bellator's going to win it, no doubt. Best debut.
Best debut.
I mean, Bellator.
Yeah.
Either Bellator or Man or Lord, but I think Bellator's.
No. Problem is, that's another thing. Again, when it comes to games like Mandalore is early access. Early access games usually don't win too much.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's not finished.
Yeah, it's considered not a whole
not even done.
Yeah. Have you all played any of these other than Bellator?
No, but that one game I saw with the laser eyes looked pretty interesting. Oh, I did want to. I know this. I did want to play Pacific Drive. What I saw from Pacific Drive looked pretty dope.
Pacific Drive is fantastic. I'm just gonna tell you that I highly recommend it.
Okay. Yeah, it looks super cool. Like you just in a car, like a station wagon, right? And you're just souping it up and trying to drive through some weird funkiness.
Yeah.
So, so Michael, do you prefer do you usually play a lot of indie games, or do you usually just play AAA games? What's your preference?
I play games that are good. That's honestly that's what I look for. It doesn't really matter to me if it's indie, if it's AAA. I think AAA generally have a tougher hill to climb just because of the risk that they're often taking on, and thus I think they cannot take as many risks themselves. And so that to me makes them a lot tougher sell right now. I think the the indie scene and the super indie scene, the likes of Hades 2 and things like that are really where I tend to get most of my playtime. This year, it's been a lot of Helldivers 2. That's been through ups and downs, but it's really kind of one that I think flew under the radar for a long time until it actually released. And so, yeah, I mean, but to me, there's a lot of things that I really like about that game. But yeah, I tend to gravitate a little bit more toward the indies and super indies and stuff like that, just because I know they're going to take more risk, and I know that they're going to have to be polished because they're also going to have a bit smaller scope, which, from a development standpoint, is just going to make that easier. But if AAA game is worth its salt, then I'll definitely play that too.
Yeah. I always thought indie games always go. As games grow, you always see indie games either become AAA titles, eventually as they grow bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
But you ever see the opposite where a AAA title decides to go downgrade to indie section? Like they leave the AAA title world and they enter the indie world.
I honestly think if a lot of companies smart, I think we talked about this a couple of them back. I was like, what if they just kind of broke up into teams and started making more indie games? You know what I mean?
Oh, they do that now.
Yeah. Because the sad thing is, and this is my experience, is I've bought in so many, not really actually recently, but I've bought in games that are like $60, right? And then I get into them and I start playing them, and I'm like 5-10 minutes in and I can't stay awake because I'm bored. I got this thing where I naturally fall asleep if something's too boring. Doesn't matter how awake I'm like, yeah, guys. And then I'm just like conking out. But I don't know how many times I've bought in something for $10, $5, $15, $20, and I've just been like, oh God, it's like 4 a.m. still playing it. And so I think it speaks a lot to Michael, right? You said Michael? I want to mess it up. Michael said, I think it speaks a lot to, do I enjoy the game? Is it fun? And then I think AAA titles, if they got this formula that they try to stick to and everything, where they're like, everything's got to look amazing and it's got to have these aspects. And I think they lose a lot of that risk taking, like, hey, let's throw this in and just shake it up a bit and see if this is fun. And then I think that's where they lose a lot of what could be, because how many times you play an indie game, like, I never thought about that. That's super cool. Like, it's like that when I was playing that one game with the driving that was in the last indie thing where you're just driving and it's an RPG game, but the RPG is literally the road and like potholes and stuff. And I was like, this is super interesting. Like, this is amazing. And it's not something you would naturally see. A AAA title would be like, that's a dumb idea, but they pulled it off. So it's,
they have.
Yeah.
I think I totally agree with Michael. Like, it doesn't matter if it's AAA, indie. If the game is good, you just buy it and play it for a long time, because no matter like how good the graphic is or how much it costs, whatever, you just play it and then like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I really love it. The game. That's like, I think, like for Bellator, if you think about it, Bellator is really, really simple. I don't know, like compared to other like AAA titles or anything, it's very simple. Gameplay, mechanic, and mechanism, and very simple graphics. But then you're just so addicted. You're just like, this is the same as Zach said. Like, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. Like I lost track of the time. So I think that is very.
George is like, I got 1 hour to get to the gym. This is not going to work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. So
well, and I think that's what Bellator does very well. You have this very simple presentation. It's very slick, but it's very simple. Yes. And then you have, simple graphics, very clean. Mm-hmm. And then you have simple gameplay, but then it's all the ways that the cards you get break that gameplay. Yes. That really adds to the game and makes the game addicting to play.
Mm.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you see all these streamers who stream Bellator, it's like you feel like they're about to write a book about Bellator, like all the strategy and tips. It's like watching a chess player trying to become a chess master.
All the different ways to play Bellator.
Yeah, and
there is. There's like so many.
Yeah. And adding to that, the music is also very addicting too. Like the background music, it feels like, I don't know. At first, it's kind of like annoying, but then if you keep listening to it, like, I try to turn off the music while I play when my daughter is sleeping. But then I was like, okay, this is not working. I need the music, the background music there, So,
when the game music is addicting when you decide to sit in the title menu for like half an hour or 1 hour.
Yeah.
And now even move.
Yeah, like music in games have like two effects upon me, right? Or two different things I noticed. Either I'm sitting there playing and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty dope, or I'm like, where is the background music off button? Because I can't listen to this game.
Yeah.
And it's like some of them games where they just didn't care enough about the music, where you're playing it and you've just heard the song, but then it's restarting and it's like you're just like, oh. So I mean, that was like when I did the was it the toughest tofu, the strongest tofu? Yeah. I was blown away by that music, and I was like, some of the corniest gameplay ever, but I enjoyed the hell out of it, and the music was super cool too. I was like, okay. Had the music not been so good, I don't think that game would have been that good, to be honest with you.
So Michael, for you, as a solo dev, what is your plan to implement music? Like, are you going to be outsourcing? Are you going to be partnering up with a musician or music director?
Yeah, I have a few people that I know that do music, so I'm probably going to let them try their hand at it. It's just not something that I have. I may try to put my own track out there for part of it, obviously, but I have to. It's just not one area that I'm really good at. So I will probably let them try their hand at it. That'll give them a chance to kind of see if video game music is something they want to do more of, and kind of get their name and credits somewhere if that's something they end up liking to do. So.
Yeah, that's cool. The last dev we had, Pablo, he actually made his own music, so that was kind of pretty cool, because he knew how to deal with all the music stuff. He recorded his voice and all that, so that was pretty cool.
That's the first time you actually had someone who actually had the music.
Yeah, I think that was the first time a dev kind of made his own music and recorded his own voice.
And there's always Udio. I don't know if you know about Udio, but it's a lot of fun if you ever want to look it up.
Sounds like a cartoon character.
Yeah, what is Udio?
Udio Beta. So remember that video I made with all music and stuff? Udio Beta. So it's an AI thing, but it's actually really good. Like, it writes the lyrics for you, and you can pick what genre and everything, and it makes some really pretty decent songs actually. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this. So I, of course, mess with it.
Nice. Yeah. So
mine was all for comedy reasons.
Let's go down the list.
Okay. Which one do you guys want to see? We can cover one or two.
I actually want to see something. Up. Music. Where's the music?
Oh, the music one?
Magic.
Audio design.
Audio design and score and music. Oh, yeah, Metaphor's gonna win the best music.
Oh, really? Metaphor has the best music? I haven't played.
Their music is using an, I guess you could call it an old language, like a universal language that's actually out there, but no one uses it. But it's really one of the fantastic music. But then let's see, it's hard to compete with Final Fantasy VII. I think it's always hard to compete with any Final Fantasy game when it comes to music.
Final Fantasy VII games have good music too. So
they literally have an orchestra for everything.
I think because I watch a lot of Japanese developers with their games, and a lot of them have their own orchestra.
Yeah, they have a composer, like their own composer who just makes great game music.
Yeah, you see the sound room. It's like 50 people in their whole sound room, and they're all playing different instruments.
Yeah, they probably have a own studio plus the concert hall or where they record all these great music.
I know there was that one Game Awards where I can't remember what game it was, but they literally played the game and then they had the orchestra come in and play during the cinematics of the game, and I was like, that's dope.
Oh, that's the Game Awards. They do that for the Game of the Year. So all the Game of the Year will have a music during the Game Awards, and that's when they choose which one wins the Game of the Year after they play all the music for each theme. Which is pretty cool because they all mix all of them together in one piece.
Nice.
Get some synthwave in there, or
so yeah, you can. You gotta watch it. It's actually one of the best part of the Game Awards is watching the music performance. And sometimes they like to throw little, I guess, surprises, and they invite artists or something, singer, and actually have a real concert. But you never know. That's the thing.
I think Call of Duty did that a long time ago for Black Ops 3. They had was it Death Fist? Can't remember their name, but it was a death metal band that plays at the end of the game,
yes.
and you beat it if you actually play the story.
You know what's the funny part? I think it was a couple of years ago when Sony the PlayStation did their whole own digital showcase or something. Everyone has everyone did gameplay, but when Sony did it, the entire showcase was just music. There was no gameplay at all. Just music nonstop.
I think
there might have been some gameplay, but I do remember the
trailer.
The trailers,
yeah. But people were confused. They're like, "This is a summer showcase. Where's the gameplay?" It's like you see a person playing a music instrument for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then there's a man fired the next day. You're out here, Steve. I'm sorry.
I think either PlayStation or Sony is doing a world tour of music concert starting next year. They're gonna be all over.
I know Final Fantasy does it.
Final Fantasy has done it. I know there was a Legend of Zelda series. I don't know if that's still ongoing. And I know Video Games Live, I think, is still going somewhat. Some options out there. Video Games Live is an awesome show.
They did with Kingdom Hearts as well.
The last musical concert I went to was the Ubisoft, where the Ubisoft did the orchestra for all the Assassin's Creed musics.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
And that was great.
I don't think Ubisoft is going to do another one though. They're not doing too well.
I don't know. They already had a lot of change of staff. They hire a new director for HR.
Yeah, I have no idea, but yeah. So you guys think you guys want Bellator to win it, or?
I do want Bellator to win, but I kind of know that that's not going to be the case.
If I would say, I would like Bellator to win, but I'd be surprised. I actually would think out of all of them, Black Myth Wukong has a really good chance.
Okay.
That's just me. I feel like that one had gotten the most hype when it came out, and people were most surprised by it, even though it was in the making forever and it had a lot of people behind it, just itching for it to get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's understandable. Yeah, I agree.
Which one do you choose to win the game of the year, Michael?
I think it's gonna be Elden Ring because most of, I mean, just this is based on just my guess, based on the judges, because most of the stuff is coming from, it's not coming from Gamer Vote at this point. It's coming from other outlets and things like that. So I kind of wonder if they're going to be one to try to aim to split up to give, so you don't have Black Myth Wukong winning multiple awards or something like that, or Elden Ring or whatever it is. They may want to spread it out that way. You don't really know what they're kind of trying to think. But yeah, I kind of feel like it might be Elden Ring.
Okay.
Elden Ring. This would be a great question to put in the comments after we get done with the video. Who do you think's gonna win?
I think Elden Ring's gonna win. It's really hard to beat From Software.
Well, didn't you guys say that leading up to this, it's been Elden Ring and then something else in the other years, right?
Yeah, well, Baldur's Gate 3 won because that's obviously like one of the most popular ones. Everyone loved it. And this year it's really hard because now you got Black Myth and then you got Elden Ring. So it's like...
Yeah, and I think like it could be a little bit difficult for Astrobot to win it because like you have to own a PlayStation.
Is Astrobot under the family category section? It should.
It is.
Because...
Was it?
It is.
Because then it will probably win on the family then.
That's family, Astrobot. Yeah, there's I don't think it's gonna win. And any other game's gonna win.
Hey, for the best family, I'm going for
Mario
Princess
Party, maybe.
Showtime. That's what I'm saying.
Princess Peach Showtime? I still haven't played that yet. I have it right here in my box still, along with what's it, Mario RPG?
See, we have
Mario RPG.
Yeah. We have to visit Anthony's house.
I've never played Mario RPG, but I've just had this huge desire to. I don't know what about it. Just I always seen it, and I was like, that just looks so dope. Having an RPG version of Mario.
How was
it? It was.
Go ahead.
Oh well, I mean, when it came out, I mean, it was just there was nothing else like it at the time. They tried to, they've done Paper Mario and stuff like that since, but yeah, Mario RPG was an awesome game. And what I really like about the remake is like they even keep like some random like glitches in the game. Like there's a there's a section later where like if you're fighting this particular boss and you can actually use this move that you're not supposed to use against bosses against the boss, and it actually works because of glitch. And so like they really worked hard to keep as much of that game faithful to the original as possible. It was really cool.
Yeah, Nintendo's great at fan service. I feel like.
That's what I was going to say. Nintendo is very detailed in how to kind of get the fans excited. Like even if it's like older fans. I mean,
they got me excited for a lot of stuff that they got coming next year.
Yeah.
I feel like Mario games too, like the whole vast the whole thing of Mario's, there's always been almost every single game where they've worked some kind of glitch or hidden secret in, or a couple just for fun. You know what I mean? Like even from the first one till, now, just always something they hide in there. And I really appreciate that because it's kind of cool,
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Brings me back to my Nintendo days.
I think it's either going to be Elden Ring or Wukong, I think. It's one of those.
That's two tough ones.
That is very tough.
And they're all in the same genre, too.
Yes, that is also true. But I heard, I think it's going to be either one of those two. But if Balatro wins, everyone's going to be excited.
There's gonna be a lot of comments after that.
Yeah, if wins,
they're gonna be like rigged, or something like that.
Yeah,
a lot of good comments gonna be out there, but a lot of hate comments also.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see. I think the actual thing is December 12th, so we just have to wait another 2-3 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks.
Too soon. The year's flying by.
Hold on. December 12th.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was our podcast night.
we could have one.
Now it's done. No podcast. We could do a live viewing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Talk about I don't know if that'll get us in trouble, but it'd be pretty fun.
No,
I think they do. I think they do it all the time.
They actually allow co-streaming.
Oh, that sounds good. And
that
also,
might be an idea.
And I'm not too sure, but like I mean, we might also have like a Minimap game of the year too, so that we can do together.
Yeah, but your Minimap game of the year is different, right? It's not like it's like everything, right? Indie titles and stuff like that.
I mean, we can make as many categories as you guys want.
Listen. Don't try to take this away from us, George.
How long is the Minimap? Is like 4 hours, 5 hours? Because the Game Award is only 2 hours.
No, Game Award, Minimap Game Award. They've never done it with the global server yet, but like in the Korean one, I think it took about an hour or hour 30.
Okay,
they did like some fun activities while doing it. So, and also I think some of the people said like there should be like a horror category for horror game categories because there are a lot of horror games. So
I feel like they should be, and I feel like indie games eventually, as the trend of indie games growing so much, they should have their own award system, separated from the AAA titles.
Yeah, well, isn't that what the indie game awards are for, though?
Yeah, but it is. I mean, but you like I'm like trying to get more like but indie multiplayer, indie family games, indie platformer games, indie like those kind of rewards. Because you put like the platformer and strategies all that together, you use like the indies to compete with the AAA titles, and it's hard. It's like you gotta find out. It's like that one indie game and then 4 other AAA titles against. It's like 4 kids versus 1 kid.
Yeah, and also
I think it'd be kind of cool. I'm sorry, George. You go ahead.
I don't know. Like in that case, like it might be a little bit difficult to kind of like separate the AAA and like indie. Like, what's the definition of indie game? Like, what if it's too successful? Is Larian still an indie studio?
I think they had that debate. They had that debate with Mint Rocket for Dave the Diver because Mint Rocket aren't they owned by NetEase?
No, they're Nexon.
Who are they owned by? Nexon, yeah. So a lot of people are like, well, they're not really an indie title or they're not really an indie team, but they're like, no, we are, because literally we were just the ones that made it. We just got the funding from.
So you just gotta look at the developer and not the publisher.
Yeah.
That too is developers.
I feel like there's 2 sides to it too. How big was the team? And then what was the budget? Those are 2 things to kind of look at when it comes to indie games. And so I would consider Dave the Diver to be an indie game. But
Dave the Diver is an indie.
Yeah, it is an indie game. And they the Mint Rocket also, they separated from Nexon. They're like a separate company now. So
and I don't know if you guys have ever tasted Mint Rocket, but it's minty.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm actually going to reach out to all these. Man, I don't know. I reached out to the dev of Belatro to see if he would be interested in coming to our podcast, but he never responded. But that'd be awesome.
Oh, really? I mean, he just emailed me this morning.
He emailed you? Okay, you have to contact him then. I mean,
hey, what are you getting emails from these people? We need to start getting some hookups there, big dog.
Yeah. So, talking about all these indie games, let's move on. I think we could move on to the companion waypoint.
Yeah, we can.
And we are here.
And talk about the.
Yep.
There you go.
Companion waypoint. This is where we meet Michael a little bit deeper and talk about his game and everything. All right. Okay. So we have about like 842 questions ready for you, Michael.
843. I just added one.
Okay.
I
will try to keep my answers to 10 minutes apiece.
Okay. So my biggest question is, how did you come up with the name Crying Cat Games?
Because my cat will sit outside my office and cry. He'll meow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, what should I name the studio? And then it occurred to me, well, I mean, I sometimes will just have a cat randomly just sitting outside my office crying. Or sometimes he just sits there at the end of my workday when I'm about to come out. That is the reason. Very simple.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. How many cats do you own?
Just one. He's a little orange cat. He's a silly thing.
I know Zach has several cats.
I have one now. Someone took my other cat that was old to a place and they never came back recently. And that someone's got to watch their back, even though she's my wife.
Oh, okay. I'm like, okay. I was about to say, I thought someone like it.
I'm like, what? You're kind of like a chip, like Garfield.
She's. Let's just say she's in a better place now, and I'm sad, but it's okay.
So I was like, kind of living like Garfield.
My wife was like, I had to just go and do it because I knew you're too sensitive, and I was like, I'm not sensitive. And then I thought about it, I'm like, you're right, I am pretty sensitive. So,
Did she take Bailey? Or?
No, Bailey's young. It was Blue.
Okay.
Blue was really not doing well, and so she warned me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm from the farm, and I don't think she's ready to go yet. And then one day she just wasn't there, and my wife's like, I did it without. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be mad at you for about 3 or 4 days, but it's over now. I'm back to being happy with her again. Rest in peace, Blue. But yes, now I only have one.
Okay. Yeah. So,
unless you count all the cats I feed outside my house, I remember like 5 then.
Yeah.
But they don't come in because they probably have something.
So, Michael, how did you? Is this your first project, the Radian Brick?
Yeah, this is my first project. I was looking at the game. I was looking at just doing more programming with 100 Days of Code, and I did a game jam. I'm like, okay, I really like this game dev stuff. I think I want to keep on doing this, and so I shifted my focus to that. And it was Ludendare last year, which is a big game jam that happens twice a year, that I came up with this idea. I had been kind of playing with the idea of a brick breaker game, and I kind of really liked the idea of switching the colors. So I went with that project for that game jam, and I got some comments there. I played around with the design. I kind of took a little break earlier this year. I started to switch the game to 3D because I'm like, well, there's not many indie games that are 3D. One, and then 2, like there aren't very many brick breakers that are 3D. But the complications of that beyond the code, which I thought the code would be the hard part, but the code was not that difficult. It was getting to the point where we're starting to do lighting and textures and materials and all that stuff for 3D models. That is the part where I was just like, okay, this is just getting more difficult. And then I ran into the fact that getting 90% of the code, that was easy. The final 10% is always the most difficult part. And so that's why I recently just started kind of re-prototyping the game back in 2D in a different engine, and I just want to try that and keep the scope very small and get through the project. Because I really like the idea of it. I just need to get it done.
So, are you like a full-time indie dev, or do you have is this like something that you do like in part-time or as hobby, or what's the?
This is just something I do after work on the weekends, things like that.
Nice. So the real question then is, I know Zach asked this before, are you getting enough sleep?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm very worried about people's sleep levels.
Oh, absolutely. I try to make sure that I am, since I get up really early, I'm probably after this, I'll move around a little bit, but then I'll probably call it a night. So, but I am generally up at like 4:45. So that is why.
Oh, I found a partner who wakes up very early in the morning too, because I also wake up around like 4:45.
Oh, it's super quiet, man. I get so much done.
Hey, I wake up at 4. I just hit snooze and roll back over. I'm like, oh, why?
See,
I just sleep through my alarm clock. I hibernate.
At this point, I almost don't even need an alarm.
Didn't we have a podcast where I woke up mad early? What time did I wake up that day?
I think it
was like 3 or 4, wasn't it?
No, it was like 6 o'clock.
Oh, felt like 3.
And also, Anthony has the Alarmo, right?
Yeah.
Do you actually use that to wake up, or is it just?
No, it's still in the box.
Then I wonder why. Yeah. So is
Let's
this
get that out right now, sir.
It's a million question why everything's still in the box.
We want to know how it works. We need an unboxing.
So how has this been always your like favorite genre of game, like brick breaking or arcade type of games, or is it just something that kind of intrigued you, or why did you choose this genre, like specific genre?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've always enjoyed. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's something that I always have enjoyed playing, and and always, it's kind of the idea that really came to mind first for me when it comes to a project that was the right scope. Because I think that's the real challenge, especially with the solo dev, is you really have to, if you're going to do anything in a a decent amount of time, you're going to have to keep the scope very small. But yeah, I've always liked Brick Breaker. I mean, they're akin to like something like Peggle too, so Peggle as well, rather. And so like that's something where, I know a lot of people like that type of game. And it was just something where I'm like, okay, small scope. I can put a cool twist on it that I like, and try to make something that's fun, because that's ultimately why I play games, is to have fun. So I want to make a fun game.
As you should, sir. As you should.
Yeah. I think a lot of people really get tied up on this or that or whatever, and like I always have to come back to, is it fun? Like, and that's really like the driving force toward it. Like, it's been really interesting to watch the Helldivers 2 stuff this year, because for so long the way they tried to design that game was such a struggle. Like, it just did not feel good to play at times. And it's been interesting to see them turn around with the 60-day plan and, actually make the weapons feel good. The game is back to being fun, because that was the craziest part to me about it all, is they have one of the most fun, like, core game loops out there. But then some of the decisions they've made when it comes to balancing and stuff like that, it's like, what's going on? Like, how do we get from such a fun game loop to a game that feels very rough to play at times? But that's like I say, I tend to just focus in on fun. If I can find the fun, if I'm not having fun with something, I need to figure out why, and I need to either change it or remove it.
I think that's what a lot of indie game devs said. Like, it's very difficult. Like, for example, if they make a game and then they think it's very, very, very fun, but then when they actually kind of play test it with their friends or people they know, then they kind of find a different aspect, like the fun in different aspect or different point of view. So then it'd be very difficult to kind of like, should I shift or gear towards that aspect more to make them feel more fun out of this game, or should I just keep focusing on what I have been focusing? And I think that's very difficult and complicated process, I think, because it's all these, the fun is very subjective. It could kind of vary depending on like what kind of group of people, like what group of people are there to play the game, or depending on their gaming experience and all that. So yeah, but I think the fun, should be the most important aspect of making a game. It doesn't matter how good the graphic is, doesn't really matter how good the background music is and all that. But I think fun should come up first, and then the rest should follow.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that is the most difficult part. I was just, talking about this the other day, and I think I'm going to make a video about it at some point here, is like, to make a video game, you have to code some software, or, at the very least, when something like Game Maker, you have to come up with, or G-Develop or something like that. You have to come up with the logic for the code that is going to run at, probably every 16 milliseconds. Something is going to happen if it's going to run at 60 frames a second. You have to have the art to make that game look good. But most important of all, you have to do all of that and have the game be fun. And that is where it gets very difficult, I think, to tie it all down.
Yeah, I think that and marketing, I know those are two most difficult. ones for.
Well,
we always hear marketing every time.
Well, my hot take is that a lot of indie developers are making games that are not marketable.
Yeah.
Because to George's point earlier, like I have to determine, is the market, is the feedback that I get from somebody, is that somebody that I am actually marketing my game to? My game is a very niche game. It's not going to be something that's going to sell millions of copies. I have no illusions about that. I have no illusions of it even making a profit. This is really designed for me to learn the process and to make something that I think is fun and people are going to enjoy playing. So I have to be selective on that, but I also have to make sure that my copy for my screenshots and all of that comes across in a way that is going to appeal to the right people. Because sometimes you'll see the reviews like, I really wanted to like this game, but it just doesn't work for me. And that to me just suggests that your marketing was wrong. Either your trailer did not convey what the game, was all about, or something like that. Like it's a tricky thing for sure. But I think people want to say marketing like as in the promotion side of things, like nobody knew about the game, but it's also about the vision that you portray the game as, and it's about all of that. I mean, and George, you probably know a lot about that with the way you portray Minimap, the way you kind of have things work, the type of user that you're looking for. You have all of that in mind.
Yes.
But really quick to finish up on that. I mean, you have to. The other part of it that I think is the struggle for indie oftentimes is the art, because some programmers especially will really focus on the functionality. And functionality is great, but like functionality doesn't sell a game. You have to have the game look good for people to want to play it, because one comment that I've heard is like, oh, well, Thomas Was Alone. That doesn't, it's not a great looking game, but Thomas Was Alone has a really good art style. It has a very consistent art style. So that's the part I think that a lot of people kind of miss in that argument. That is one of my kind of gripes, very minor gripe as it is, but one of my kind of minor gripes with when Pirate Software says something like that is, Thomas Was Alone and Bob Is You or whatever, they have specific art styles. So I think that's the most difficult part when it comes to getting a game's look all together is, coming up with that art style. That's why right now I'm really just focused on drawing the bricks in my game, because I want to make sure that those are right, and then I can try to go from there to the other stuff. Right now it's just all prototype graphics.
I'd say too, one of the things though, is not necessarily always the users too, is what we said like back in the day too, is one thing to think about is the flood of games that come out now opposed to back in the day. There's just so many of them. Standing out is such a task in itself. And if you think about it, like if every indie team that made a game had marketing, there'd be a lot of marketing firms. There'd be a lot of people making money on marketing, because it would take so much bandwidth just to have that. So I think it's very. I mean, how many times have you guys seen in a game that's been around for 3, 4, 5 years, like we've said before, and nobody's touched it, and then one person played it and they're like, oh my god, this is the best time, and all of a sudden it blows up, right? And so it's just sorting through all them games. It's like Steam Next Fest. You're just like, so many demos, can't move fingers. So so it's just but yeah, definitely art is one thing. I want to think about art too is I think sometimes people in my mind misconstrue art as having to be like I know most indie teams don't do this, but you have a lot of times with AAA titles like, well, I want to see the guy's pores and the sweat coming out of it. But how many indie see that they go a different route? Like they make pixels look good, or they take cartoons and they make them look good, or like Haunty, right? And so I think that is another thing too. So does it grab your eye when you look at it? Is it visually appealing? Because I know there's been some indie games I've looked at and I was like, oh, that's highly suspect.
Right. And I mean, I think if you look back, like when you get back to the NES and the SNES, I tend to find, especially the SNES stuff, a lot of times looks a lot better even now because of the limitations they had. So they had to make things work the way it is. I mean, Mega Man X is still an amazing looking game, Chrono Trigger, games like that. But then you got to the N64 and the PS1 era, and most of those games did not age very well. You know, one of my prime examples is still Mario 64 because the game, the graphics in that are so stylized in comparison to like GoldenEye 007, for example. I mean, it's just night and day. You can't look at GoldenEye at this point and be like, oh yeah, I totally see what they were going for at that point, you know. But with Mario, it's like, you know, it's definitely showing its age, but it still generally to me looks like a clean game for the most part. The textures and levels are a little but I mean, there's nothing they can do about that now. The resolution is so small.
Yeah, unless you try to make a remake out of it. There's not.
Right.
I think the Dragon Quest 3, the remake that just came out, that looks pretty, you know, that looked like a lot of an upgrade from the original one. They kept the still, like same gameplay and a lot of it, and then they did.
You could switch back to the original. You can switch it back and forth.
Oh, you can do that. Okay, that's also great because I know in Korea there's one like classic MMORPG game they made by Nexon that had like, you know, old graphic because it was released in like 1996 or something, and then they try to make it a best out, like, you know, pixel art style MMORPG. But then a lot of people really loved that, and then all of a sudden they try to make an upgrade in the graphic, and then a lot of people left because that's not the reason why they wanted to play that game. It's not about the graphic. It wasn't about the graphic. It was, you know, the nostalgia and the pixel art graphic itself, and then they just left it. And then after that, they try to like make it switchable, like the Dragon Quest, you know, if you can go back to the original or whatever. But then a lot of people has already left, so it was the game kind of like slowly. I mean, it's still in operation, but it's says slowly kind of died. And then I think recently I think they released like the old version again to kind of get a lot of people's attention. Like, you know, those people, like I played when I was a teenager, meaning that a lot of people that played back in the day is probably in their 30s or mid 30s or 40s, and then they try to get those people back. But I don't know if it is successful or not. But so I think graphic wise, some of them like age very well, kind of like wine, I guess. But then like some of them is not. So.
And there's also, when it comes to graphics, I'm thinking, for just to add one thing, not everyone will have the top end tier computer or something to play the game with the best graphics. So that will also turn away people saying, I want to play it, but my computer can't handle it.
Yeah.
Or I don't have the right equipment.
Yeah.
So that turned away
I know
people.
What was it? There was that AAA title they made that it was literally so hard on computers that it was just melting them. And I just was like, why would you do that? I can't remember. It was
Which one?
I
Crisis.
think
Crisis,
it's the one where the guy goes invisible and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, people were like, yeah, you gotta have this sick computer. I'm like, bro, I'm not buying a $5,000 computer to play a video game. I'm sorry. So it lost a little bit on me. I was like, but that's a really good point, because what kind of audience is really gonna, because if you think about it too, another thing that might be driving people from AAA titles to more indie titles is that indie titles can take those really simple art concepts, make them look beautiful, and they don't kill your computer, and you don't have to have new hardware for it, as opposed to like this game where you're like, oh wow, it's everything's overheated, and I just started playing, like it's shutting down the computer, you know. So that's crazy. Actually, and to piggyback off of that, I just thought of a really good question for you, Michael. Is, I know you're working on Radiant blocks now, and you said you're kind of like stylizing it and stuff, and you know, building it all up. Besides what you're working on now, have you ever had in your mind like a kind of a cool art style you wanted to put into games, but you haven't got around to yet, or you just haven't found someone to do? Like, have you ever daydreamed about like a certain kind of art style, or for, you know, maybe a new upcoming titles in the future?
Well, what I'm trying to get with right now to Radiant Bricks, what I kind of have this vision of is like almost a literal blackboard and white marker. I have not quite got that look yet that I'm trying to get, but like to me, that would just be a very different looking game. I am not doing pixel art. I am doing hand-drawn art. The shapes are simple enough even for me to figure out. I also there is a channel out there that actually talks about pixel art basically being trapped, because doing pixel art itself, that's easy. Doing good pixel art, that is very hard. Mm-hmm. And so that is something that I've really been looking at, but I kind of have this vision of like almost a sci-fi blackboard with like white markers. So I want to try to see if I can get the game looking that way, because it's just going to be different looking. But yeah, after that, I mean, I'm kind of trying to decide the next project. So I think that's where it's really going to depend on what the next project is. I mean, I've thought about like a game along the lines of A Link to the Past, or trying to do something a little bit different in a different direction. It's just going to depend on, how big of a scope I want to try to make, or what. I really want to try to niche the game down. Like I want to try to find a good niche for the game, whether that be, I don't know, a 2D take on like what Dragon Ball could be. And, it wouldn't have a Dragon Ball license, but, if you wanted to have a Dragon Ball 2D adventure game, like what would that even look like? I don't know. But that's where I have to figure out like what kind of niche, what kind of game, what really makes sense for that style. So I don't really have a great answer for that beyond that.
No, you're fine. It just popped in my head because I was thinking about, because I daydream about making games all the time, and I'm constantly like thinking about what art style would I use and stuff like that. So I didn't know, as someone who's building a game now, and I think you said you had something else that you're hoping to put out after that you're thinking of. Was that right? Or that you've been tinkering around with a little bit?
I'm kind of always thinking of, ideas. If something that really appeals to me, then I will write it down, obviously. But yeah, I try not to get too far into those, because if you get into the development stuff, like it is really easy to start like prototyping something and being like, oh yeah, this can work, and getting all excited about that, and then before you know it, you're kind of like, oh well, I've been spending a month in this project, and now my other game is just sitting there. The other thing too is, once you start getting deeper and deeper into your game logic, it's just something where it really helps to keep going every day, to keep in mind like why you're doing something you're doing. Like I spent this past weekend working on the level editor for my game, because I really want to let people build their own levels. And I had like two kind of goals in mind. I got the initial thing set up, and I'm like, I really want to be able to do like shift the bricks this way, shift the bricks that way. And it really just took looking at it for several hours, trying to just think through like how this is all going to work. So I try not to get too far on that. One thing where I will say that is really good to do stuff like that is game jams, because you can, spend, a weekend or 2 weeks or whatever, however long the game jam is, and work on that. And maybe if you really like it, you have your prototype for your next game. So if you have never done a game dev before, I would definitely recommend a game jam at some point.
Look, I just play them and daydream about them. I don't know no coding, man. All right.
You'd be surprised. There are really to be honest, the difficult part about the coding is not actually most of the time the actual code, it's the logic behind the code. Like, okay, I need the game to do this. So like, how can I go about making it do that in a somewhat efficient way? Like when I was looking at the stuff this weekend, and like the other goal that I had was, I didn't want players to be able to place blocks outside of this area, because I want to have the blocks in the area where the player can actually hit them. Oddly enough, I don't know why I'd want to do that, but it was really just trying to think through, okay, what tools do I have available in this game engine? How can I go about getting to that? Like the actual code, once I got to understand how to actually do it, that was not as difficult. But thinking through that problem, that is really what the vast majority of programming is actually about, is solving a problem.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
That is exactly why I kind of gave up on programming. I also minored. Yeah,
that's a good question. Have you guys, my fellow Anthony and George, have you guys ever thought about making a game and what you would make if you did?
Not particularly, but I guess kind of reflecting on my personal life now, I guess I can kind of like make a game where you become a parent and try to raise a child in a way. Like I guess it could be kind of similar to there's a game called Princess Maker where you kind of raise a little child to become whatever she wants to be or whatever you want it to be.
There is a game that where you raise a child as a parent.
Yeah, but I think
I would call that no sleep. That's what I would call it.
I thought he was going to go with Tamagotchi or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But like, I don't know, your child, and then you have to kind of like manage your work and life balance in between. Kind of like, spend more time at work, you make more money, but then you're like less attached to the child or something. I don't know.
Oh, so a persona type system. I see.
Yeah, something like that.
Either the kid grows up to love you or hate you. Like, you were never there for me, Dad.
Yeah. And then,
multiple endings.
Multiple endings. And then like, the child becomes successful and like make something like Facebook or some Meta or whatever. And then you also like live in a nice house or something after you retire.
Or your child become a content creator.
Yeah.
Or you could you could like work like a very early on Easter egg in where the dad goes and gets milk and doesn't come back, and then the kid grows up like,
yeah,
I never had a dad. You come back like, oh, I'm your dad. Just couldn't find the grocery store. You can always have that in there,
I mean, if you don't have any other systems, that's a visual novel right there.
No.
Yeah,
that is true. And I don't know. It feels like a lot of I don't know if this is just a Korean thing or not, but like, a lot of Koreans, when they play a game, they kind of want to be best or whatever. They want to like beat everyone else. And so that's what I heard. Like, I didn't play too much of Animal Crossing, but then when Animal Crossing came out, a lot of other people in like the world, they like enjoyed farming and, like they enjoyed the town, whatever. But then like Koreans were just so busy trying to, pay back all the debt. They like have to like make certain like work life inside of the game. They have to make everything systemized and all that. So I think it was kind of like
over there bragging about how many, what is it, turnips that you like?
Yeah,
I have the most turnips. You're like,
so I think that was kind of funny. So as I thought about like, they kind of reflect their life into games as well, I guess. I don't know. Because that's why like a lot of Sims game, I know like a lot of Korean players, they kind of like, they're working inside of Sims as well, like after work. They weren't enjoying the game, but it felt like they're like actually working, but I don't know.
I'm not going to lie to you though, as far as somebody who does play sim games, there's a couple that I won't play just because I'm like, you could do that. Like, I will literally give you my my power washer and you can go outside and go to town on my house if you'd like to. Like, and I'll do it for free. Just come over, ask for my power washer, get to work. But it's kind of funny how many of those actually do really well. I know the ones that I really enjoy that are Sims, not to get off the point too far, those. I like the autopsy Sims for some odd reason. And then I like the food truck Sims and like the restaurant Sims, especially if you play with your friends. It's like a multiplayer and everybody's yelling at each other. It's just really funny.
So Michael, what's the what game are you playing any games currently, or have you been playing?
Yeah, so it's some Helldivers 2 on occasion, and right now I have been working through Ys 10. I am toward the end of that, so I'll have to figure out what I want to play next. I actually, at some point, I'm really thinking about playing what is it?
Metaphor?
Metaphor?
Yes, Metaphor. I was wanting. I know it's. I know that after that it's a gets to even stranger word, and so I was trying to combine them somehow. But yes, Metaphor is one I want to look at. There is a strategy game Atlas came out with earlier this year. I'm just totally blanking on the name right now. But there's one of those. I don't usually play strategy games, but I played the demo for that, and I was like, I may actually be able to like enjoy this, so I may end up playing that as well. But yeah, I'm kind of looking for the next game after East 10, so I'm kind of on the lookout now. But it may be Metaphor, it may be back to some Dragon Ball sparking. We'll see.
So JRP is your cup of tea? Like, is that your favorite genre of games, you would say?
I don't know. That's a tough one because there are just so many different types of games that I really end up liking. I mean, I played Stellar Blade through twice for all the endings. So that is one of the few games I've played this year. I actually really like co-op games. If I can find a good co-op game, that is my jam. But there are actually not as many of them as you would think a lot of times. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, where is the good co-op game? And a lot of my other kind of opinion, I guess, about games in general, especially for the AAA stuff, is they want to have PvP, they want to have a campaign, and they want to have PvE. And it's like, you try to do all of those things and you just split a lot of your resources. So I really end up liking Earth Defense Force 6. That's another amazing game. A very B movie, but so much fun. It reminds me a lot of Helldivers, even some ways to the community, because if you get into an Earth Defense Force lobby, there will be lots of shouting of EDF with the little voice kind of menu thing that they have, and just like there's a lot of people saying, a hot cup of liberty all the time in Helldivers, but yeah, it's just kind of a similar vibe to the community where they kind of take on the role in game as the Helldiver or Earth Defense Force soldier. But yes, that's actually one that probably will be my next kind of co-op game when I'm ready for another Helldivers break.
Nice. I would suggest Starship Troopers.
I have looked at Starship Troopers because, again, same type of universe, but I have not heard that great a thing about it. But I have not played it yet, so I cannot, I can't say for sure.
I played it a rough start.
Yeah, I played it when it first came out, and I enjoyed it. But I grew up watching Starship Troopers like all the time, so it was a nostalgia for me.
Question,
huh?
Absolutely. Are you doing your part?
Yes. I'm doing my part.
Well, I did mine.
The only good bug's a dead bug.
Yes. But yeah, it had a rough start in the beginning, but then of course 1.0 came out, and everything, all the bugs got fixed, and then they released the console, so everything got better. It totally changed from when you first started in the beginning, and then to the final game.
Okay.
Because you say you like Helldivers 2, so I'm like, yeah, you might like a Starship Troopers also.
Maybe.
What is it saying now?
I think when people get into Helldivers, there's no coming back.
There's absolutely coming back, because I mean, like, Earth Defense Force. Earth Defense Force is we stopped for a bit and played that for a little bit because that came out finally. Oh my gosh. We were waiting for that game so long. We spent a lot of time in Earth Defense Force 5. If you have never played one of those games and you like, taking out bugs and giant aliens and all that stuff and crazy weapons and all that, like, that's an amazing little series. There are some issues. Sometimes the mission pacing is a little weird because they have you literally just standing there for 5 minutes while they tell you random things that don't make any sense. But when you actually get to the game, like, that is where it is amazing. I kind of wish we had an Earth Defense Force Helldivers 2 kind of mix up where it was a bit more to the style of like dropping into a mission like Helldivers 2 in Earth Defense Force, because that could be kind of a amazing combination to me.
Speaking of bugs, have you played Deep Rock Galactic?
I have.
Yeah, that's my bug game right there.
Very fun game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you play the Survivor version for that game?
I have not. I have it. I have it and I need to play it, but I have not yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty funny how they went from there to to a different genre, but it's still the same universe, same game.
Yes, that is really cool, and I'm glad to see them do that. I think if you can establish a universe like that, doing something like that is a really good idea, because now they have this totally kind of other offshoot that they can try their game in, and who knows what they can do from there. Maybe they go and create some other kind of game after that. You never can tell with what ideas they come up with. But yes, that is really cool to me.
Yeah, I think.
I'm just waiting for the Minimap RPG to come out.
Ooh. So actually, I kind of found out there is last year we have like a little flash game where jumping game for Minimap, and they did
Flappy Birds.
Something like that, yeah, something like that. But it's more like the dinosaur game where if you're offline on Chrome, the jumping game. It was kind of like that. But I think last year they did launch that, and then whoever had the highest score got prizes and stuff in the Korean server. And that game is still actually on. I mean, I played it a little bit yesterday. It was just ducking and jumping, but it's pretty cool.
You can do a lot with ducking and jumping.
Yeah,
you can.
So that sounds good. But yeah, and also I was gonna say this, but I know I've heard this from a friend who owns a indie game marketing company, and he said the most or important thing for indie game devs is to kind of keep trying, because you're not going to be successful in your first game. But a lot of people kind of have so much of a high expectation in their first game. They're like, oh, a lot of people will love this, but they don't get too many feedbacks, or they don't sell that many games, and then they kind of give up because, oh, this is not my thing. But then a lot of indie game devs, probably all these successful ones too, they probably had a lot of side or little project that they have done, and then after, I don't know, 6-7 games, they finally kind of meet their expectation, and then they kind of lift off. So I think that is a point that I kind of wanted to make. And also, I think there's another indie game dev said, start small and then continue doing a lot of small project instead of trying to make it too big, because you have used too many resources in that, and then you kind of get too disappointed after you release the game. So,
well, it's not only that. I mean, especially if you're newer to it, you honestly just need reps. That's really what you need, and that is honestly what you need when it comes to just programming in general. Is you need to literally go in and just solve problems. You can do some stuff in tutorials, but a lot of times what people find is they get into tutorial, they do it, and then they feel like they were understanding it, and then they get out and they try to do their own thing, and it's like, well, now what the heck do I do? So yeah, I mean, a lot of times you really honestly just need reps. You need to solve different types of problems. You need to try different types of games. And that's why I really like game jams. They can be very, very effective for trying to, kind of get the MVP version of a game. I mean, to me, the Concord ordeal, to me, it's crazy that they didn't even have an alpha state after however long they were developing when Sony kind of came in. That is crazy to me. Because if you look at somebody like Riot, they have I forget the name of the card game, but they have some sort of card game out there, right?
Yeah, Runeterra.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
And they were literally playing this for years in Excel. They literally I have seen screenshots of their Excel prototype where that is literally how they played the game, to test the system out, to see if it was fun, before they even bothered doing anything in a game engine. But yeah, I mean, if you look at even some of the more successful indie games too, a lot of times they were started during a game jam like Ludendare. I believe Celeste was done in Pico 8, which is a very little tiny game engine, during Ludendare one year. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of indie games that end up being successful that are started during those game jams as just a small kind of MVP type project, and after that they go and they see if they can build out the whole thing, if that's something that they end up liking.
I think I heard, and I remember you said that earlier, that this is something you're just trying to work through, and I think that's a pretty good perspective to have, especially when it's your first one, like getting the reps in, making sure it just getting something out there, even if it's not successful, to say I did that, that's what I completed, and then moving on to your next project.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot when it comes to any kind of creative, anything you're doing creative, right? Say you're a content creator, you're trying something, and even if it's not effective, getting it out and saying, okay, what did I do that I learned from this, and what can I improve on for the next one, and just keep doing that. I think that's a really good.
Absolutely.
That's a really good way to look at it. Like how you even said it earlier. So I was really impressed with that. You're like, I have no delusions of how good this is going to do. I just want to get it out there because I want to, this be my first one and then get on to my next one. So that's a really good way to look at it, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm like, would it be cool if I could have like online co-op for the game? Sure. But like the amount of scope increase that I would have to do that is just too much for me at this point in time. And I am definitely not a networking genius when it comes to how to make all of that actually work. I have better ideas now than when I started trying to do this last year, overall. But, when I look at my project and the size of the scope of the project, I've spent too long on it as is. So, I mean, I need to get it done so I can try something else. I'm going to really probably approach this a bit more. I never want to be the person that is literally working on their game for 3 years. I meant to bring this up earlier, but I got sidetracked on something else. But there was a video, and I cannot find it now. I haven't found it since. But there was a video that I saw that said something like, I restarted my indie game after 4 years. And I watched it. The guy was talking about it, and he had this idea for this really kind of, to me, sounded convoluted genre. And he started talking about it, and he said, I did all of this stuff, but the game wasn't fun. And so I tried to do this other stuff to make it fun, and it still wasn't fun, and it still wasn't fun, and it still wasn't fun. And so like that's where that really drove home to me, like, I got to make sure that this stuff is fun in the prototype stage. I don't have to, I want to try to kind of play with the art style, but like, I'm not going to spend all of this time to go and do all of this art when I don't know if the game's going to be fun yet. I got to make sure things are fun, because if it's not fun now, how's it going to be fun with art? So, yeah.
And, being on that too, you're by yourself. You're not a full-time dev. Is there do you ever see yourself, if things ever do get to the point where you feel like that's something you could do? Do you ever feel yourself like maybe you'd want to be part of a team, working in a team, developing something?
I'd have to find the right situation. It would be a very difficult one for me to see working out from a established indie dev point of view, because ultimately I do not have as much experience with the development side of things. This is something that I've picked up recently, and I'm not gonna, my art is still very early. I am trying to, at this point, learn to draw, because that is something that I feel like is going to be very helpful when it comes to concept art and everything else. But I don't know that I ever see a situation where it's just going to be like, where I'm going to be like, oh, let's apply for this job at this indie studio and realistically expect to get it. But also, with the way game salaries are, or game dev salaries are right now, I don't know that it would work out that way either. So, unless I found a team where we're kind of just, maybe I'm founding the team, I don't know. But it would be a tough one for me to actually see myself getting into anything beyond a super indie, because I don't really have any desire to work in the AAA space, because of the way that they're, kind of currently, at least, the way I kind of see the cycle working, right? I don't I would not like to be responsible for one little tiny thing in this pipeline that is, almost impossible to understand.
Yeah, and I think that what I meant by that was like, and you kind of answered it a little bit there. Is, would you ever want your own team to be like, hey, I need you to do art and all this other stuff, but also, that I can definitely. I don't think anybody. I don't think we've heard one indie dev say they want to be a part of a AAA team yet. I don't think one of them's been like, I can't wait till EA picks me up. None of them said that.
Yes, exactly. There's reason why they want to become an indie dev in the first place. They want to make something unique.
Absolutely. Well, and if depending on what you see, you may end up finding more that are more interested in that side of things. But I think the challenge, at least to me online, is people hear like, oh, let's make a game, and they think, oh, that'll be fun. But it's fun for a couple hours maybe, and then it's like, okay, well, now you're getting into a more difficult programming problem, or now things are just not quite working right, and you have to just literally just think through what it does. So I've just had a much more difficult time finding people that I actually feel like are going to commit to whatever it is. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, eventually, if things are going well and I can find a reliable teammate, then sure, I'm definitely open to that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah,
I like everything you said.
Yep, I think.
Well, yeah, you gotta play Overcooked. That's how you find your reliable teammate.
Yeah, you have to find the right teammate plus game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the whole testing in the video game.
Is the entire kitchen supposed to be on fire? Is that the goal?
What? The goal is probably
Overcooked.
Yeah.
If the entire kitchen is on fire, that's good, right?
That's good. Unless the fire is contained.
Depends on how much flour you got. You know what I'm saying? No, I think one thing I always thought would be pretty cool is I like teamwork. So I always think being part of a team would be pretty cool when it came to designing a game. You know what I mean? But if I'm like you or like most indie devs, I wouldn't want to be in a team more than like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
If that, you know what I mean? Like keeping it small and like, hey, you draw, you do music. Just this is all you. And then just let it go and have fun with it. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to finally add to the podcast, to the viewers or people who are interested in the game, or anything you want to add, Michael, before we kind of go?
I just think it's one of those things where if you are wanting to try to make a game, I say go and try to do it. Go to a game jam. Whatever. If you make a game in the game jam and it sucks, so what? You still made a game. And that is really kind of the first step to doing anything. Because if you're going to try to take up programming or art or really anything creative, honestly, you're probably going to suck at it a while. And you just have to keep doing it. Because if you don't, then you're never going to get better at it.
Yes.
You're probably going to suck until you don't. That's what he meant to say.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, that is really it for a lot of creative endeavors.
Yeah, it's not even just for developing games. It's for anything in life, I guess.
A lot of things in life.
Yeah, a lot of things.
I mean, like we used to have another podcaster. We actually lost him, so it's been a hard road. Just kidding. We're doing this is the original guys right here, but there was a whole other team, and they're all gone now. So
I didn't see different people in episode 1, so I don't know.
Yeah. I just always tell my kids that when they're like, "Dad, yada yada," and I'm like, you had a brother that did that, and well, he's not around anymore. Do you see him anywhere? And they go, "No." I'm like, "There's a reason." No, but
oh my gosh. Okay. But thank you for coming to the podcast, Michael. I think we really enjoyed it. We learned a lot too. And I think Radian Bricks is going to be Coming out in next year sometime, early next year, you said? March or April-ish?
That is my hope. That is my hope.
So if you haven't already, you should wish list it and follow the progress. It'd be really, really fun. I know, like Michael said, it's not for everyone, I guess. But, if you're interested in this type of game, it's good to check out and see where it leads. And if you don't like this game, the genre of game, you still can kind of follow and see if you would like it when it comes out.
Yeah. Definitely to see somebody doing it from the beginning. If now that you know about it from the podcast, following and seeing how it develops would be pretty cool lesson,
Yeah. And I think we should have Michael again when it's close to a release date and see like how kind of progress from here until next year. If Michael's okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
We'll have a sure. We'll have a play where we play the game and talk to Michael at the same time. Just all four of us in the corner.
Yes, and see who wins it.
Just like
Who gets the highest score?
Yes, you're like, oh, so Michael. Oh gosh, I died. That'd be fun. Okay, but thank you for coming. Any last words?
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Okay, nice. I love it. Okay, thank you for everyone for this awesome episode again. We will see you guys again next time, and I'll see you around, Michael, on Discord as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Your invisible hand always catches me.
Invisible.
The head.
It's got that strobe light factor.